A week into this new NBA season, there have been many talking points, but one of the biggest surprises have been the Utah Jazz, who many expected to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. The Jazz so far, at the time I'm recording this video, have 5 wins and 2 losses. Over the offseason, they traded their 2 franchise cornerstones, Donovan Mitchell to the Cleveland Cavaliers and Rudy Gobert to the Minnesota Timberwolves for a boatload of picks and some young players, but both deals were really centered more around picks. But the Jazz nonetheless have been very impressive and very fun to watch through the first 7 games of this NBA season. And some people are wondering if this success is sustainable, and today we're going to be talking about them and their intriguing start to this new season. When looking at this Jazz team, there are really 2 guys so far who have led this team early in the year, and those guys are Lauri Markkenen and Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson, a former 6th man of the year with clear scoring ability, has really been the number 1 option on a team for the first time in his career, and so far, in that role, he's thrived. On the season through 7 games, he's averaging just over 17 a game. But what's really been more impressive to me from Clarkson is the playmaking jump he's taken, or really an early initiative to get his teammates more involved. He's averaging 5 a game so far this year, and especially when Mike Conley isn't on the floor, he has to be that primary source of offense, not only as a scorer, but getting his teammates involved. And so far, he's looked promising in that, and I think he probably won't be on this Jazz team past the deadline, but if he keeps playing like this, the Jazz could get some real value for the former Laker and Cavalier and the former 6th man of the year. Next up is Lauri Markkenen, another former Cavalier who was on the team last year, and coming out of college at Arizona, the Finnish big man was compared somewhat to Kristaps Porzingis. Now, he is a mobile big man who can shoot, and throughout his career he has shown some signs of being a good NBA player, but he has struggled with injuries. But this year so far, he has been superb. He's averaging over 21 a game, as well as 9 rebounds. Even though he isn't shooting great from 3 so far, he has definitely taken a jump as a scorer and really been a big piece for this Jazz team. Now, the other big piece they got in that Donovan Mitchell trade in terms of players, well, there's 2 other guys. But the biggest one was Collin Sexton, who was a free agent up to that point, and in a sign and trade move, he was moved to the Utah Jazz. Now, Sexton throughout his career has been a guy who's had some varying opinions on his game. Now, Sexton did put up 24 points per game 2 seasons ago on pretty good efficiency, but it was on a pretty dreadful Cleveland Cavaliers team. And last year he was hurt in the year the Cavs finally started winning games. He has an opportunity here in Utah, but the thing is, he really hasn't played that much. He's just averaging 12 a game so far, isn't playing too many minutes, and it's going to be interesting if he has a long-term fit on this Utah team. It seemed good for him to get a change of scenery, as him and Garland just didn't seem like it was going to work out long-term for the defensive concerns. Now, with that being said, the Cavs did trade for a guy who also has defensive concerns, another small scoring guard to put next to Garland, but we all know Donovan Mitchell's a lot better than Collin Sexton. As for Sexton, though, I am interested to see how this year goes for him, but early, it's been tough because they have a lot of scoring guards. They have Mike Conley, who isn't exactly a scoring guard, but if Mike Conley's on your team, he's gonna play. You have Malik Beasley and you have Jordan Clarkson, so it looked like a new opportunity for him. He hasn't played huge minutes yet, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens for him. But as for the rest of this Utah Jazz squad, it's a very interesting cast of NBA role players and some young guys put together. You have guys like Kelly Olynyk and Malik Beasley, guys who bring some scoring and shooting and could help contenders. You also have Mike Conley, a veteran point guard who most definitely could help a contender, but with how much he's being paid, if he's not bought out, I don't know if the Jazz could trade him to a contender. And then you have guys like Ochai Agbaji and Walker Kessler, the two rookies. Agbaji, an older rookie, has played somewhat. He's a guy who I definitely think is going to be a solid player. And Walker Kessler's a big man with some shooting touch. Definitely an interesting team they have. You also have Talen Horton-Tucker and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, two guys who many people thought had some decently high ceilings, but their careers have not taken off yet. Now, I don't think the Jazz, the success will continue in the long run, partly because I don't think they wanted to. Now, this team, a lot of people thought, going into this year with how their roster was constructed, that they don't want to, contend or make the playoffs. They clearly want to tank with this Danny Ainge built roster, and there's going to be a lot of change. But to start this year, they have been an exciting team to watch. And really, it's going to be, interesting to see how they spread out these pieces, because after the trade deadline, or even before the trade deadline, we know this isn't their set roster. And the Utah Jazz are gearing up for a very interesting rebuild. The very early returns on coach Will Hardy have been promising, and they have a lot of potential pieces, and they're in the process of fleshing out which guys are real pieces to this team, which guys should be traded, and which guys fall somewhere in the middle. And I do really think if the Jazz kept this roster, they could be a threat to be in the play-in. And they have been very fun to watch. They are very competitive. They play very hard. And really a team of players that almost all haven't played together before. They have really good chemistry. But now we're going to look at a roster breakdown of this Utah team and really get an early look as to where each player on this team falls in the team's future plans. Now looking at this breakdown of the roster, we're going to go over each section, and starting with the keepers. Obviously this team doesn't have any untouchables or like a franchise player, but I do think Markkenen, Walker Kessler, and Ochai Agbaji all will be on this team at least past next year. Markkenen has been really good to start the season, and if Danny Ainge didn't like him as a player, I don't think he would have wanted him in the Mitchell trade. And Agbaji and Kessler as well, who they acquired in trades, 2 first-round rookies, will definitely be on the team for at least a few years. Then we'll see from there. Now in the second tier below them is Collin Sexton. Now he's a possible long-term piece on the squad, but his fit as of right now is a bit weird with the current team the Jazz have. And we'll just have to see how it goes for Sexton, but he does have a good chance to be part of this team's future moving forward. Now for the potential trade bait. All these guys, in their primes, can shoot the ball or play defense, are valuable in a playoff setting. And Malik Beasley, we know, can score the ball, can get hot, and is a very efficient shooter. Jordan Clarkson is a great scorer. It is said that he really likes being in Utah. It seems like the city has embraced him. He feels wanted in Utah, and he's been the guy so far this season, which I know he's gotta love. So I do think there's a chance Clarkson stays. Kelly Olynyk is a guy that I definitely think could help a playoff squad. Is a big who can shoot and score a little bit, bring some toughness, and he has experience in playoff games. Jared Vanderbilt is a very versatile defender, was acquired in the Rudy Gobert trade. And Vanderbilt, personally, I would want him on my team long term, but some reports have suggested the Jazz may try to flip him to a contender. He could really help a team that's trying to win now. With his defense, switch ability, he can guard multiple positions. He's a very versatile player on the defensive end. And now they have this group, a tier below, of a bunch of young guys who maybe 1 or 2 of these guys will pop, but overall isn't a great, very inspiring group. But 1 or 2 of these guys could reach their potential and possibly become, a decent piece on this roster moving forward. In this tier, you have Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Johnny Juzang, Leandro Bolmaro, Talen Horton-Tucker, who probably is the most popular out of these guys and has probably the best chance to be a long-term guy on the squad, as well as Udoka Azubuike, who probably has, the smallest chance, as he really just hasn't shown anything so far. At the time, it was a bit of a questionable pick when he was picked 27th out of Kansas. And then you have the two seasoned vets, Conley and Gay. And Rudy Gay I could see going for cheap to a contender, brings some shooting and some size and can score a bit and has some experience. Conley could definitely help a team that wants to win games this year, but his contract may limit him from doing that unless him and the Jazz can agree to a buyout. Overall, though, the Utah Jazz have been very fun to watch to start this NBA season. And even if they don't keep the roster they have right now, which seems very unlikely, they're definitely going to be a team for me. And I hope y'all to watch for the future, because their roster has a lot of flexibility and they could go many ways with their future. Thanks for watching, and comment down below your thoughts on the Utah Jazz's surprising start to this NBA season.